Hi, I'm Jessica Chen, and this is the story of how my husband's wealthy family learned that money isn't everything, especially when you underestimate the wrong person. I met Marcus at a small coffee shop where I worked while pursuing my computer engineering degree. He was different from the usual suited executives who barely looked at me while ordering their expensive lattes. Despite coming from one of the city's wealthiest families, Marcus would sit at the counter and actually talk to me about technology, coding, and my dreams of starting my own software company. "You're different," he said one day, watching me debug code on my laptop during my break. "Most people here just see me as the heir to Wong Enterprises. You see me as just Marcus." I smiled, closing my laptop. "That's because money doesn't impress me. Ideas do, dreams do." A romance blossomed naturally, hidden from his family's judgmental eyes. Marcus knew they wouldn't approve. They had a list of suitable heiresses for him to choose from. But love doesn't follow present paths. When Marcus finally told his parents about us, the explosion was nuclear. A coffee shop girl with a community college degree, his mother, Eleanor Wong, practically spat the words during our first dinner together. She sat at the head of their massive dining table, wearing jewelry that probably cost more than my entire education. "Actually, I'm completing my computer engineering degree," I corrected her politely. "And it's a state university, not a community college." "Same difference," she dismissed with a wave of her manicured hand. "Marcus needs someone who understands our world, our social obligations, not some scholarship case." Marcus squeezed my hand under the table. "Mother Jessica is brilliant. She's developing innovative software that could revolutionize." "Enough." Harold Wong, Marcus's father, slammed his hand on the table. "No son of mine will marry beneath his station. End this foolishness now." But Marcus didn't end it. Instead, he proposed the next day, and we had a small private ceremony at City Hall. His parents refused to attend. "You'll regret this," Eleanor warned him. "She'll show her true colors soon enough." Despite his family's disapproval, we were happy. Marcus supported my studies while I finished my degree, and I started developing my software on the side. We lived in a modest apartment, avoiding his family's social circles and focusing on building our life together. Then I got pregnant. The news should have been joyous. Instead, it set off a chain of events that would change everything. "A baby changes things," Eleanor announced, suddenly appearing at our door one day when Marcus was at work. Perhaps we were hasty in our judgment. She invited us to move into the family mansion. Marcus was thrilled, seeing it as a chance to reconcile with his family. I was hesitant, but I wanted our child to know their grandparents. So we moved in. That's when the real nightmare began. Eleanor's acceptance was a carefully crafted trap. She began hosting elaborate parties, parading me in front of their social circle like a circus act. "Isn't it charming?" she'd say. "Our Marcus, so charitable, giving a chance to someone from her background." I endured it all for Marcus's sake, but then I overheard a conversation that chilled me to my core. "The girl is becoming a problem," Eleanor told Harold in his study. "She's actually trying to patent some software she's developed." Imagine the embarrassment if Marcus's wife starts peddling computer programs like a street vendor. "The prenup will protect Marcus's interests," Harold assured her. "And once the baby is born—" "Yes," Eleanor's voice turned cold. "Once we have our grandchild, we can deal with the gold digger appropriately." I rushed back to our room, heart pounding. The next day, I discovered they'd been working behind the scenes. My patent application had been mysteriously delayed. My university records showed an investigation into academic irregularities. They were systematically destroying my credibility. When I confronted Marcus, his response shattered my world. "You're being paranoid, Jessica," he sighed, not looking up from his phone. "Pregnancy hormones are making you irrational. Mother is trying her best to welcome you into our world. Your mother is trying to destroy me," I shouted, showing him the patent interference documents I'd uncovered. "Those are just standard legal procedures," he dismissed. "Maybe if you'd stop trying to prove yourself and just accept your place in this family." "My place?" I whispered, finally seeing him clearly. "You mean beneath you? Like your mother always said." Before he could respond, Eleanor burst into the room, waving her tablet. "How dare you?" she shrieked. "Arguing with my son in his own home. Causing him stress with your wild accusations." What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Eleanor clutched her chest dramatically, stumbling. My heart? The stress. She's trying to kill me. Marcus rushed to his mother while Harold appeared from nowhere, pointing at me with rage. Get out. Get out of this house now. Marcus, I pleaded, but he wouldn't even look at me, too busy attending to his mother's theatrical performance. Security guards appeared, escorting me out with just my purse and the clothes on my back. As the massive doors slammed behind me, I heard Eleanor's miraculous recovery, her voice carrying clearly. Finally. Now we can protect our grandchild from that gold digger's influence. I stood there, 5 months pregnant, watching the sun set behind the mansion I foolishly thought could become my home. But I wasn't broken. I was angry. What they didn't know was that I'd seen this coming. I'd been preparing, and I had an ace up my sleeve, one that would make them regret ever underestimating the coffee shop girl. As I walked away from the mansion, my phone buzzed with a text message that would change everything. Ms. Chen, this is David Zhang, Marcus's business partner. We need to talk. There's something you should know about Wong Enterprises and your software. Standing there, one hand on my belly where my baby grew, I smiled. They thought they'd won, but the game was just beginning. The next morning would bring revelations that would shake the Wong family to its core. That night, I met David Zhang at a small, discreet restaurant downtown. Unlike the Wong family's usual flashy establishments, this was a quiet place where serious conversations could happen without interruption. David was already waiting when I arrived, his usually immaculate suit slightly rumpled, suggesting he'd come straight from the office. He stood as I approached, pulling out a chair for me. Thank you for meeting me, Jessica, he said, his expression grave. I've been wanting to talk to you for months, but the Wongs, they have eyes everywhere. I sat down carefully, one hand protectively on my baby bump. What's this about, Mr. Zhang? And why now? He pulled out a tablet, sliding it across the table. Take a look at this. It might seem familiar. My heart stopped as I scrolled through the documents. On the screen was my software, the project I'd been working on for years. But it wasn't just my code. It had been modified, expanded, and was now being prepared for launch as Wong Enterprises' newest product. They stole my work, I whispered, anger building in my chest. David nodded grimly. Not just stole it. They've built their entire new digital division around your framework. That standard legal procedure blocking your patent. It was so they could file their own patent first. But how did they? I stopped, realization dawning. Marcus. He had access to my laptop, my files. Marcus is just a puppet. David leaned forward, lowering his voice. Eleanor and Harold have been running the company into the ground with outdated strategies. They needed a win. Your software was their salvation. But they couldn't bear the thought of owing their success to the coffee shop girl. I remembered all the times Marcus had asked about my project, showing sudden interest in the technical details. How Eleanor had insisted I use the superior computer in their home office. They'd been gathering my work piece by piece. Why are you telling me this? I asked David. You're their business partner. He smiled grimly. Partner? More like their latest target. I built the Asian market division from nothing. Now that it's profitable, they're trying to push me out too. Just like they did to you. He pulled out another document, a contract. But I've got something they don't know about. 20 years ago, Harold's father gave me special voting shares. In writing. If combined with other shareholders, these shares could force a board review. My mind raced with possibilities. And what do you want from me? Justice, he said simply. Your software is revolutionary, Jessica. But they're implementing it wrong. Their shortcuts will make it vulnerable. When it fails, and it will fail, thousands of businesses will be compromised. I sat back, processing this information. So you want to stop them? I want to help you take back what's yours, he corrected. And in the process, maybe we can save Wong Enterprises from itself. Over the next few hours, David laid out everything. The Wong family's perfect image was a facade. Their fortune was built on taking credit for others' innovations. My software wasn't the first thing they'd stolen, just the most recent. There's more, David said, pulling out one final document. Remember that prenup they made you sign? The one Marcus said was just a formality? I nodded, my throat tight. It has a clause about intellectual property. Any IP developed during the marriage belongs to both parties equally. When they stole your software, they actually gave you a legal claim to half of its value. I laughed bitterly. They'll have the best lawyers in the country. Yes, David smiled. But we have something better. We have proof. And he paused dramatically. We have your backup files. My head snapped up. What? That day you came to my office 6 months ago to discuss cloud storage solutions. I noticed you uploaded something to a secure server. I've kept it safe, untouched, original timestamps intact. Tears welled in my eyes as I remembered. I've been so careful, so paranoid about backing up my work. That paranoia had just saved me. Here's what we're going to do, David continued, outlining a plan that would make Eleanor's head spin. But we need to move fast. They're announcing the software launch at the annual shareholders meeting next week. I placed both hands on my belly, feeling my baby kick as if in agreement. I'm ready. The next week was a blur of preparation. David's lawyers worked around the clock, preparing documents. Tech experts analyzed my original code against Wong Enterprises' stolen version, documenting every theft. But the real masterstroke came from an unexpected source. Mrs. Wong. A timid voice called me 3 days before the shareholders' meeting. It was Amy, Eleanor's personal assistant. I have something you should see. She handed me a USB drive, hands shaking. I've worked for Mrs. Wong for 15 years. The things I've seen, the people she's destroyed. I can't do it anymore. Everything's on here. Every email, every hidden document, every secret meeting. I knew it must have cost her to do this. Thank you, Amy. Just... She hesitated at the door. Make it count. The morning of the shareholders' meeting dawned bright and clear. I dressed carefully in a conservative black maternity dress, my hair pulled back professionally. David met me at his office. Ready? He asked, helping me out of the car. I nodded, squaring my shoulders. More than ready. As we walked into Wong Enterprises headquarters, employees stopped and stared. News of my dramatic exit from the Wong mansion had spread. No one expected to see me here. We rode the elevator to the top floor, where the boardroom was already filling with shareholders. Through the glass walls, I could see Eleanor holding court, Marcus at her side like an obedient schoolboy. The moment we walked in, silence fell. Security. Eleanor shrieked, half rising from her chair. Remove this woman immediately. I wouldn't do that, David's voice cut through the room. Not unless you want to explain to the shareholders why you're removing someone who owns half of today's big announcement. Harold's face turned purple. What nonsense is this? I stepped forward, my voice clear and steady. Before you launch my software as your own, perhaps we should discuss the original source code and the rather interesting emails planning its theft. Marcus went pale. Eleanor's perfectly made-up face contorted with rage. But before they could speak, the screens around the room flickered to life. Side-by-side comparisons of my original code and their stolen version appeared. Emails detailing their plan to block my patent. Security footage of Marcus copying files from my laptop late at night. And finally Eleanor's own voice. Once we have the code, get rid of the girl. Marcus can find a suitable wife later. The software is what matters. The room erupted in chaos. But I wasn't done yet. As chaos erupted in the boardroom, Eleanor tried to regain control. These are obviously fabricated documents, she shouted over the murmuring shareholders. This woman is trying to extort our family. I smiled calmly, remembering all the times she dismissed me as just a coffee shop girl. Fabricated? I pressed a button on my tablet. Like these surveillance videos from your home office? The ones showing Marcus copying my files at your direction. The screens switched to crystal clear footage. Eleanor's face went from red to white as she watched herself instructing Marcus, pointing at my laptop. Or perhaps, I continued, these bank transfers, the ones showing payments to delay my patent application. Emmy kept very detailed records, Mrs. Wong. At the mention of her assistant's name, Eleanor's composure cracked completely. You treacherous little. Mother, stop. Marcus finally spoke up, but I cut him off. No, Marcus, you don't get to play peacemaker now. Not after what you did. I turned to address the shareholders directly. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to vote on launching a software platform that was stolen from its original creator, me. A platform that, due to rushed and improper implementation, has critical security flaws. David stepped forward, distributing documents to the board members. Our technical team has identified 17 major vulnerabilities in their current version. If launched, it would expose client data to significant risks. One of the older board members, a distinguished woman I recognize as Patricia Chen, no relation, stood up. Mr. Zhang, are you vouching for these claims? I am, David replied firmly, and I'm exercising my special voting rights to call for an immediate leadership review. Harold slammed his fist on the table. You have no such rights. Actually, he does. A new voice spoke from the doorway. Everyone turned to see an elderly man entering. Harold's father, Richard Wong, the company's founder. I had never met him, but David had reached out to him last week, sharing everything we'd uncovered. Richard had been living in semi-retirement, trusting his son to run the company ethically. Our evidence had brought him back. Father, Harold stammered. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, Richard cut him off. I understand that you and Eleanor have betrayed everything this company stands for. Stealing from a pregnant woman? Destroying careers to cover your tracks. He turned to me. Mrs. Wong, on behalf of the company I built, I apologize. Eleanor wasn't finished. She played her last card. Marcus, tell them she trapped you with that baby. Tell them. Enough, Marcus shouted, surprising everyone. He walked over to stand beside me. The baby is mine, and Jessica is my wife, and everything she's saying is true. His voice broke. I helped steal her work. I betrayed her trust, because I was too weak to stand up to you, Mother. The room fell silent. Patricia Chen stood again. I moved for an immediate vote on leadership change and project review. Seconded, came multiple voices. What happened next was like watching a decades-old empire crumble in minutes. The vote was unanimous. Harold and Eleanor were removed from their positions pending a full investigation. Richard Wong was reinstated as interim CEO. Mrs. Wong, Richard addressed me. Would you be willing to work with our technical team to properly implement your software? With full credit and compensation, of course. I placed a protective hand on my belly. I have a counter-proposal. Over the next hour, I outlined my vision, a new division within Wong Enterprises focused on ethical innovation and developer support, a place where ideas would be nurtured, not stolen, where credit would be given where due. And I want David Zhang as my co-director, I finished. His integrity helped expose this situation. That's the kind of leadership this company needs. Richard smiled. Done. As the meeting adjourned, Eleanor and Harold were escorted out, their access badges disabled. Marcus approached me hesitantly. Jessica, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. You're right, I cut him off. You don't. Not yet. I touched my belly again. But this little one deserves to know their father. If you're willing to earn back trust, slowly we can discuss co-parenting arrangements. He nodded, tears in his eyes, and left quietly. 3 months later, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. We named her Grace, a reminder that strength can come with mercy. Eleanor and Harold faced legal consequences for their actions, but avoided jail time in exchange for returning all stolen intellectual property to its rightful owners. Not just mine, but dozens of others they'd stolen from over the years. The software platform, properly implemented, became Wong Enterprises' most successful launch ever. Our ethical innovation division attracted brilliant minds who might have otherwise been intimidated by corporate politics. Marcus and I eventually divorced, but he became a better man and a good father to Grace. Sometimes losing everything helps you find your true self. As for me, I run my division from the same office where Eleanor once plotted to destroy me. But unlike her, I keep my door open to anyone with a good idea, regardless of their background. Last week, a young barista came to pitch her software idea. As I listened to her passionate presentation, I smiled, remembering another coffee shop girl with big dreams. Tell me more, I said, pulling out my laptop. And let's talk about protecting your intellectual property rights first. Because success isn't just about winning. It's about changing the game for those who come after you.